disingenuous, bad faith representations of the Trump-Musk administration in court. Today, one judge telling Department of Justice lawyers, and I'm quoting here, "I am not going to abide by government officials saying what they really mean to the public and coming in here to court and telling me something different, like I'm an idiot. The court is not going to be gaslit."
LOL.
A judge in another case concluding that the DOJ team is essentially engaged in a fishing expedition at the Social Security Administration. Quote, "It has launched a search for the proverbial needle in the haystack without any concrete knowledge that the needle is actually in the haystack." And yet another judge displaying his frustration in a written order saying the government again evaded its obligations, giving a response that is woefully insufficient. That frustration spilling over into a hearing today with this same judge telling DOJ lawyers their filings have intemperate and disrespectful language that he never remembers seeing before from the government. Melissa Murray is a professor of law at New York University, co-host of the Strict Scrutiny podcast.
And I've been working through something where it's like, when you're making arguments about this, you need to be doing like 10% legal analysis and like, whoa. Open TikTok on my phone. It just attacks me. It needs to be like 10% talking about the legality of things, and probably like 90% making arguments and propaganda and narratives. If you spend enough time or too much time talking about checks and balances or the foundational pieces of our government that we put together to make our constitution and our institutions and everything that matters to America, that's a battle you're going to lose every time. Like every single time. Anyone that focuses too much on the legal part is losing, bro. Yeah.
Podcast along with Leah Lippman and my wife, Kate Shaw. She joins me now. Great to see you, Melissa.
Great to see you.
I just level set here. This is pretty uncommon for federal judges to talk this way about Department of Justice lawyers.
No, for sure. Department of Justice lawyers are typically repeat players before the courts where they practice, and these judges are used to a fairly high level of legal practice, which is why they can become so frustrated dealing with the very unorthodox responses that they're getting from the government now. So this is not surprising. These judges are used to a fair amount of deference, but they're also used to people who play by the norms, and this behavior is really far outside of the norm.
One of the things we saw the first time Trump around, particularly in this specific census case, which I'm not going to get into the details of, was basically what happened was the court was going, the Department of Justice lawyers would go into court and represent things that just pretty clearly weren't true. Like they were kind of like lying about
Americans. They're helping you. How are they helping Americans? How is Trump helping Americans the most? They're not helping Americans at all. Trump and Musk have done nothing for any Americans whatsoever. Like, you cannot name one thing Trump and Musk have done for America. You cannot name one thing Trump has done for America. Guarantee you. Anyone can call into the show. You have the phone number. You have everything. Go to the short stream and like the short stream for me. Go like the shorts stream. Make sure you drop a like there, so we could get some viewers on there, get some people calling, hopefully. But yeah, someone just said that you can... Like, what? They're helping America the most? How? What did they do? Name one thing they did. Name one thing. One policy, one actual thing they did for the American people, bro. What did they do for the American people, bro? I have to do this. Nice. Come on, you have to tell me something. Like one thing they actually did for the American people.
About what had actually happened, what the government was up to, why it was up to, and ultimately the...
Ooh, Trump is caught in an extortion case.
Like extortion.
We got him. We finally got him this time.
We're joined by someone who knows all about these issues and has warned about them in film and in politics.
Do I have anything to say about my own party? Yeah, my own party's not in power. I don't really care about parties. I don't really care that much about parties at all. We live in America, which has two parties mainly. But yeah, I mean, if we want to talk about Democrats, we can. For sure, man. We can talk about Democrats. We can talk about how Democrats actually have policies, at least. Maybe if Republicans had reasonable policies in any way, then Democrats would actually have better policies. But right now, Democrats are competing with no one as far as policies go, because you guys are just supporting whoever strokes your ego the most is gonna be your favorite candidate. Makes it pretty easy, right? Whoever is nice to me, I'm gonna support them. I'm really weak. I have to freaking post this TikTok.
Link in bio.
I'm trying to put a TikTok up. Beautiful.
Michael Moore, the Oscar-winning filmmaker, has campaigned in previous cycles with Bernie Sanders. He's, of course, an author.
Democrats are competing against themselves because they have no true leadership. Well, Republicans don't have leadership either. A cult of personality is not a leader. An authoritarian is not a real leader. Leaders don't need to do things that are illegal to get things done. A real leader does not need to just like be angry and wield with an iron fist to get things done. Real leaders can lead and help people that are like with them to understand the world better, so you can help, better your own communities. Real leaders don't need ultimate power. They can delegate responsibility. Drop a like on the stream, hit subscribe. You can call in, by the way. There's a phone number there. You can call in or join Discord to call in. If you want to talk about something, if you want to have a conversation about something, dude, feel free. Nice. What was Kamala's policy? Never leaving any wine in the bottle? See, I can't really tell you that because you don't know what the policies are, so I can list policies for you, but you won't know what they are. And considering you only know a meme about her drinking, you get all your politics from like Joe Rogan and Twitter, so I'm sure you don't really know what many policies are. I could teach you if you want, but I don't know if you will be able to take it very easily because you'll probably get really upset if I try to do that for real.
And a popular Substack columnist. Welcome back.
I want to be a popular Substack columnist, bro.
Where do you want to begin, Michael? Go ahead.
Journalism.
Wow. Well,
where do you want to
first of all,
begin? Where do you want to begin? That's journalism. That's how you do an interview. You say, where do you want to begin? That's easy job, bro. I'm gonna interview you. Okay, where do you want to begin? Nice. Make America gullible again. Yeah. There you go again, talking about Trump. Tell me why Democrats would be better. How can I tell you anything? How can I make any case to you? Someone needs to call in for me to make a case to you. I have to talk to someone. I have to wait till someone calls into the show, That's how it works. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for love here. No one's calling in. No one. No one, dude.
Hello. I saw your ad on YouTube. Why isn't your phone number active? If it's not going to be active, why post it on YouTube? Hello?
Wow, it's so sad. It's so sad. They need love. They need love. They need love. They're not calling in, though. What the hell?
It's great seeing Bernie and AOC out there across the country. And
Bet $1,000 the caller doesn't know a single policy. Well, yeah, they don't know a single policy. Last night, someone was really upset. And I'm like, do you know one policy that you want to talk about? He's like, I don't know what policies are. Ooh, someone called. Hi, buddy. Howdy. He hung up on me. Why did you call if you're going to hang up on me? If you're going to hang up on me, why would you call the stream?
it's starting to feel,
Why would you call?
I don't know, out there across the country. And it's starting to feel, I don't know, I should say this, it's way too early to talk about 2028 yet. Everybody's thinking about what we're going to do next year. I believe that Alexandria will be 35 by Inauguration Day in January of 2029. And perhaps...
Wait, how old is she now? How old is AOC right now? AOC's 35 now. AOC's 35 now, dude.
Historians will see this tour where Bernie...
Illegal immigration policy. Policy number 1. That's not a policy, bro. That's not a policy. That's not how that works. We could talk about policies. That's not a policy, though.
And AOC barnstormed the country. Oligarchy versus democracy. And that introduced the idea of we need a whole new person, a kind of person in the White House that is going to fight for the people. And while Bernie may think, well, maybe by 2028 he's going to be too old, You can see just how not old he is. It's just been amazing to watch.
I feel like I agree.
Call from
Forrest.
Howdy.
Yo, what up?
Nothing much. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's your night treating you?
Pretty good. Just sat my butt down in my computer chair for 5 hours. Or I mean, I'm at the start of 5 hours. But yeah, what's up?
Word. No, I just like came across your stream. I called, and you're like, "Why would you call?" And then I called you back, and you didn't answer. That was me. My bad.
It's okay. It's yeah. It's a fake phone number, so I forget when I call back. It is a random number, and people usually don't remember what
No,
number's gonna be calling them back.
actually, it kicks back to the same exact phone number, which is funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I had a little bit to drink, not drunk, but yeah, and like total Trump supporter, Republican, conservative dude. Maybe not a Trump supporter, but I'm curious because you keep talking about policies and stuff like that, and I'm kind of curious where you're coming from the policies that you support and like from what is not happening right now.
So I'm really against corruption and against like big companies having monopolies. And a capitalist would be as well. So like Teddy Roosevelt was a progressive Republican. His big thing was coming in during the Gilded Age in the 1900s and breaking big companies because they had too much power, and that was taking away freedom from people. So I'm in favor of policies like that, that rein in big companies and give power to workers. And Biden did a lot of policies like that. He empowered our National Labor Board. His FTC did a lot of really good things. Lena Khan as well, and the federal government is someone Biden appointed to get rid of like a bunch of junk fees from corporations, agencies to police corruption. Biden banned his like cabinet from taking big money donations from random people, which is really good for like preventing corruption. And Trump like rolled back all of those rules when it comes to when it comes to his presidential like his cabinet, his administration. Trump made it legal again for his people to take bribes essentially, and Biden made that illegal through executive order. So policies like that from like an economic perspective, from economics and corruption, Trump's also not going to enforce any anti-corruption mechanisms in the government. So those are a big thing for the economy for me.
Okay. Do you have any critiques for Biden? Like anything you're like, I don't like that.
Biden should have taken a much stronger stance against stock trading in Congress. At the very end, he said it. He's against it. He thinks it should be banned. Like, okay, great. You're walking out the door and you're saying that.
What should be banned? I'm sorry.
Stock trading, trading stocks if you're a member of Congress, because it could be a conflict of interest. So I wish he would have went harder on issues like that. His messaging sucked. Like Donald Trump right now is messaging and saying that he did the infrastructure plan. Biden actually did, but Biden never took credit for anything that he actually did in government. And most of your job as a president, I could argue, is like how you speak and what message you portray. And if the American people don't understand what you're doing and how you're doing it, so.
Yeah, so like I'm a Trump supporter for sure. I don't know enough to have a like actual argument with you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I have a policy master's and everything, so I have too much policy in my brain. So I mean, if there's any questions you have, or just like in particular, like things Trump says that might make sense or might not make sense or whatever it might be.
Well, and too many rules came in the way of creativity or change. But I will say that while I personally believe and experience like Trump's benefits as president and like economic gain while he is president and stuff like that, I will agree that not the most presidential figure, and like having a crass businessman run the business of a country doesn't reflect well, but sometimes can be good for the country. So.
Yeah, just in concept, I would never want a business person to run the country because a government is supposed to be the other side of a business. because private interests are often going to conflict with things like human rights. So think of slavery, think of factories, think of child labor,
for sure.
that kind of stuff. So I never want a businessman to run the country, because a businessman makes as much money for themselves as possible. They do huge amounts of fraud typically. They steal information from people. They do wage theft and a bunch of other crazy stuff. And like you would never want America around like a business, because that means people at the bottom, the people that are working class, usually, you know, the policies are going to be against them, whatever benefits whoever's at the top the most. And I just don't like that mentality in government. It should be the opposite of a business, I would say.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you if you frame it that way. But I think most people are framing it in a way of, we are, at the end of the day, as a country, an entity that needs to be managed properly, and that entity needs to curb its spending. It needs to fix its debt and move forward, and kind of be a dick where we would like not to be, but be a dick to be like, hey, we got to save money, we got to cut costs here and do all that stuff. And so while I agree with you that if we take the form of a crass capitalist businessman who's only in it for himself or his profit margin, that's fine. But if we take that same person and put them in charge of our country, and what they care about is our country's profits, gains, decline, stuff like that, I think that's a good thing that the country hasn't had in a while, where we care about actually balancing out the debt.
Well, Trump is the worst president you can talk about for the debt. Like, Trump added more debt than Obama and Biden. He added most of our debt. Even before COVID, he added tons to the deficit. He never cares about spending or about reining in revenue. And like, he fired a bunch of IRS agents, and IRS agents, hiring them, I think, returns $10 for every $1 we spend on them. So it's going to lose billions of dollars in revenue and allow the ultra wealthy to evade taxes. And like, just in general, we go into more deficit spending with Trump as president. And all the Doge stuff is basically fake. Like, they're not going after, like, I mean, it's completely just a, oh no, it's a fake. Doge is a completely fake thing. And the cuts they're making are like, they're cutting phones. You can't call in for Social Security. That's not going to change anything about the budget. That's just being an asshole and trying to kill Social Security and make it like a service that kind of sucks. And this is the first time in American history that Social Security missed payments to people. So it's like, they're not really going after the budget. That's a fake thing they message on. They're not helping the country economically, where we're actually like declining right now. Our growth outcomes for this year, our forecast is going to be like 1/5 of what it was going to be under Biden. So like, it's like, there's not one thing he's done in the second term that makes me think he likes America or wants America to do good.
Shell, yeah, cool. So hold up, I'm pulling up my notes here. So like, I'm into, like, I really like learning about stuff. I would like to know who you would recommend for me to go listen to, get different information from, you know?
So one YouTube channel I'd look up is Legal Eagle. Legal Eagle's a lawyer, and he goes through all the legal stuff that the administration is doing, and goes through like step by step, and like the illegal like attempts at like subverting the Constitution and courts. So that's where I would go legally. Economically, that's hard. You mean like for economics, or what, for the budget, or?
I mean, like, generally, like, if you were to be like, hey man, you listen to the Daily Wire, you listen to this bullshit, like, come listen to this shit.
That's a hard question.
So we got Legal Eagle.
I like Secular Talk for progressives. He's entertaining, but he's off the cuff. But he's a funny guy.
Okay.
Secular Talk's really funny. He's a really funny guy. No, he's actually hilarious. But yeah, I'd recommend Secular Talk. I think he gives a more chill version of politics that's not super wordy and not super really policy specific. I think Secular Talk is really cool. He's probably the first YouTuber I watched on here. But yeah, Secular Talk, and if you want a more like legal breakdown, Legal Eagle for sure. But honestly, I don't like many of the left people, like the left people in media or the right people. So I can't really say much. I mean, like the Daily Show can be entertaining with Jon Stewart, but there's not anyone that really comes out to me super aggressively as someone that's super good to watch. But yeah.
Well, hey man, it's been really fun talking to you. your feed shows up every once in a while, and I'm like, he seems cool, reasonable. I'll talk to him. So
I'm not. I'm just kidding. No, I appreciate you calling in. One day when you're you want to get some notes together, and you can get extremely drunk and call in. All right.
Well, I won't be doing that. I had a little bit of liquid courage. But yeah, man, you're super cool. I think we disagree on some things, but I'm not as well educated to actually have a viable conversation.
You know what? I really appreciate that. Like, I mean, and that's not even like I hate when people get upset about this kind of thing, because I would never walk into a mechanic and be like, you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. Like, you're doing shit wrong without actually having information, you know? And people do that a lot with politics, and, you know, being able to hear other people out is a big deal. And I mean, even in your personal life, just hearing people out instead of just like latching out and putting holes in walls or screaming at people is always going to be beneficial. So I really do appreciate that. I appreciate the call and everything.
Yeah, for sure. No, my family is very well divided between conservatives and not conservatives, and like different things, and they all still love each other. Like, you can disagree and have discourse and learn from the other side. So, but yeah, appreciate you, dude. I hope you have a great night.
All right, thanks. You too, man. Have a few more for us. All right, have a good one.
All right, take care, bro.
Yeah. These raging alcoholics keep calling in the show, dude. Okay, someone else call in, please. Please call in. Please, I'm lonely. I really am lonely. I'm a lonely liberal. Your information algorithm is observed. Trans men fought in the Civil War. What does that statement mean to me? Someone said that in the comments. What was that statement mean for me?
Call from
Christian.
Howdy.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going all right. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I was just scrolling through YouTube, saw your little thing, thought I'd call.
All right, sounds good. What do you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk DEI. What do you want to talk about with DEI?
I would say that DEI is a good thing. Actually a really good thing. And that when people talk about DEI, they're not talking about what DEI actually means. And the thing they think is happening with like quotas or people being unqualified and getting jobs over people who are qualified is a different thing from DEI, and that's also happening at a very like small rate. So that's usually what I mean when I talk about like DEI.
So it doesn't happen on college campus either?
No. I'm saying DEI is different from like affirmative action you could be against, but DEI is not affirmative action. Like, you know, like affirmative action can be like, okay, we think these groups are underprivileged, so we're going to take a group and like increase that amount on campus.
I'm not against lower income communities getting more funding for their schools and stuff like that. But
yeah, that's DEI.
I agree with Trump's policies of bringing it to the states, because obviously throwing more and more money into the education system over the years. And if you look at the test scores over time, like third graders test at a third grade level, you go to a ninth graders can't test at a ninth grade level, and it gets worse and worse. And it's just an indoctrination point. Like, I'm kind of with the right. I'm really with the right on most of their policies. I would say the Ukraine issue, Russia issue, I'm not. Maybe Putin is really bad, but like Putin doesn't have the means to mess with the USA, and he doesn't have the means to really mess with any NATO country because of our allegiance with each other. But NATO does drain the USA. I understand we are a world power, but there are other competing world powers, and we cannot constantly just, throw our money at these other NATO countries, especially ones that don't really see eye to eye with us, like ones that, not saying all Muslims, because I don't think all Muslims think this way, but there is a large portion of the Muslim community that still supports the Muslims that do think that way.
Okay, we should probably like pick a couple of these and focus on them so you can have conversations about them.
I'm sorry.
You're good. I know you're rattling off different opinions, but like on DEI, what Trump rolled back at the federal level has nothing to do with any companies, or like what they do, and that's probably what you're mad about if a company chooses to do something like I don't know, advertisement or whatever. But the things he rolled back are civil rights era protections, so like you cannot be discriminated against. It's not anything in the government saying you need to hire certain races. It's just saying you need to hire equal opportunity employment.
You're saying that if a company was to not hire somebody because of the color of their skin, that they can no longer be legally in any way tried for that.
He's making it much more difficult.
Cannot take them to court and win.
No, there's still the Civil Rights Act and things like that, but it's much more difficult. So like for federal workers or for federal agencies, discrimination can be more of a thing now.
Do you think that's a true issue in today's age? Like, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
The black community is still underprivileged to that point, like that they can't, like, people who come up in circumstances have a choice. You know, two people raised in the same situation.
Just number one, thinking DEI is only black people is a big thing that like MAGA or Trump shares. Because that includes veterans. They're firing a lot of veterans. That includes poor white people from rural areas too. Like I would not, for example, me myself. I grew up in a very poor family with a lot of opioid addiction and alcoholism and suicide and overdoses. And I came from a very poor position in life, with like social workers in my family making shit wages. I would not be anywhere that I am now without DEI policies. And that helps me as a white person from rural America. So like those policies help me compete with the billionaires that I roomed with in college. I knew a billionaire that lived on Lake Geneva in Switzerland.
I work at a college university and I see the mixture of people that are there, but it seems like there are definitely people from other countries that get preference because they have money. And
there's connections that universities want to have globally. Money, I agree money's a big issue, but DEI is not. The big issues with legacy admissions is money, and people that have a lot of money. It's the haves and have-nots. It's nothing to do with race. DEI just makes things more equal. Affirmative action you could argue against, but like I said, DEI just means equal opportunity. It means that we're going to give our job applications to every community. So now the federal government does not need to advertise jobs to black communities if they don't want to. They can pick which communities and which racial groups they want to advertise to. I'm not saying that happens or it's going to happen, but I'm saying that they took away rules that we did in the 60s, during the civil rights movement.
There's also the media for those situations where if you have something like that happening, you don't think the media would be on that in an instant.
Well, the media is, but we need the legal system and the government to back it up, or it doesn't matter.
If somebody gets cut, a well-known business, say Chick-fil-A, decides they're only going to hire people of, certain race or certain, background, like income levels and stuff like that, they'll catch on to that. People will catch on to that, and it wouldn't be good for that business.
Well, like for example, like Elon Musk business. I mean, I agree, but these laws on the book reinforce the idea that people will be protected everywhere in America, and they took back these laws for no reason. Like they rolled back protections from people, equal opportunity protections. They said it's about meritocracy. They blame plane crashes on DEI with no evidence. Like there's no reason they needed to roll back DEI. DEI is a good thing. And the idea that people are not qualified getting jobs that's not a thing. People that have a lot of money get jobs when they're not qualified, but it's not based on like a skin color. And some organizations probably do that somewhere. But when it comes to the laws on the book and the federal government, there's no reason to roll back DEI policies at all.
I hear somebody talking about trans people, and that's another situation right there. Sorry, I hear it on the phone. Actually, I guess you're playing a little bit behind me. But anyway, yeah, with the trans issue, like I don't think women or men should compete in women's sports.
Okay, I just need to stay on one topic with you for a second, because like when we talk about DEI, it's like Jackie Robinson was in the news. And people said it was insulting for Jackie Robinson to be called a DEI hire.
I don't know who Jackie Robinson is.
He's the first ever black baseball player, basically. I mean, not first ever black baseball player, but the first ever black person allowed to play with whites in the professional league, not in the Negro league that they had in the MLB. So like Jackie Robinson is really good at baseball, and he was a DEI hire. And like Jackie Robinson shows why DEI hires are it's not a pejorative. It's not a bad thing. These are, people from these underprivileged communities, whether it's poor rural white, whether it's poor urban black, whether it's poor rural black, especially in southern states. We're giving a chance for everyone from every community to be successful. We're giving a chance for everyone to have a chance at success. Fortune 500 CEOs are still 1% black. When it comes to managers and CEOs and business owners and overall wealth in America, all I'm trying to say is, when Trump demonizes DEI and says that DEI is making everyone hire these really unskilled workers and all that kind of stuff, he's like, that's why people call him racist, because it's bullshit. Like, the idea that DEI is making them hire people who are not qualified is bullshit.
But how much money do you think our government was spending on it? And do you think that, maybe we start, even if we didn't abolish it, it would make sense to maybe back off some of those? If we think we're progressing, I think we're progressing. I don't think that, as far as what we looked at in the 60s and what we look at in the 2000s, we are much more overall, there's less racial issues. It's just there's a whole lot more media coverage trying to push the racial issues.
Well, I mean, when you call DEI a bad thing in general, you're going to make it a race issue. When you say like plane crashers are because of DEI pilots who just can't handle the computers or whatever, we barely spend any money on DEI. DEI just means equal opportunity. There's some programs with like the Department of Education that has some funding, like $1 billion, but it's a super small amount of money with the federal budget, and that's, like I said before, helping poor whites, helping veterans, helping disabled people, like helping all these different groups. It just helps people who are disadvantaged, like regardless of skin color or religion or sex.
Yeah, I hear you. And
I don't know why Trump makes it a big issue, because it just seems a little bit weird.
Okay, I can see there could be other, maybe the way that DEI was formed and how it was, I watch Charlie Kirk, so I'm just, going based off what he says too, is, DEI has a lot of good ideas in its roots, but when you implement it on a federal level, that's when it becomes abused.
But there's a reason he can't give one example of that. There's a reason he can't give like a data set or like actual facts about it or a policy gone bad. He can't do that because he just needs to talk about DEI being a bad thing. Like, I hear Charlie Kirk talk about it, and his arguments are all, I mean, there's a reason he debates only college students. There's a reason he goes on college campuses and debates like freshmen in college and never actually debates someone with like worth their shit. There's a reason he runs away from those kind of conversations.
I mean, the professors get up there and he usually does pretty good against them too. But it's easy to spread propaganda. If I could talk to Charlie Kirk, I'd kick his ass easy. Like, he brings up the dumbest shit ever. Like, I mean, he might look good in conversations, but he's manipulative. Like, I could bring up all these stats from like. Do you not the border was an issue under Biden, or no?
If the border was an issue under Biden, I feel like Republicans would have passed the border bill.
Terrorists who made it into our country weren't a problem, and like who got released back into our country.
You're kind of debating like Charlie Kirk, where you don't stay on one topic and you have to bring up a bunch of different ones.
I'm just moving away from DEI. I'll submit to your DEI could have good places, okay? But I don't submit to the whole left wing, like the way that it's been pushed. Because I grew up a Democrat. I grew up poor in a trailer, a Democrat. Just it sounds like me and you probably had similar childhoods. But even in my granddad's like old age, like me and him would argue because he was just so diehard Democrat. But I'd seen the way the left was shifting from what Democrats were in the early 2000s.
Democrats in the 2000s talked about DEI a lot, so I mean they were very supportive of DEI. Even George Bush was in favor of it. So they didn't
have men going in women's bathrooms and competing in women's sports, and they didn't have in early 2000. Joe Biden said if you get caught with more than a penny size of crack cocaine, you will go to prison. No ifs, ands, or buts. But his son, gets pardoned, even though he gets caught with crack cocaine and all this stuff that's on his laptop, And then we find out the pardon's not even written in Joe Biden's actual handwriting.
Hunter Biden's pardon was written in his handwriting. And by the way, Trump signed every January 6th pardon with an auto pen, just so you know.
And I mean, I don't.
But Charlie
I don't
Kirk won't
know
tell you that.
fully-
Charlie Kirk will not tell you that because he does not want you to know actual information about this shit at all. I know bad things about Biden. I know bad things about Republicans. But if you follow Charlie Kirk, he's never going to tell you one bad thing about Donald Trump. He's not going to tell you one thing about the administration that's bad.
To that,
To which one? You
I mean,
keep on bringing up like 25 topics. Pick one
the
topic.
border or transgender. Let's go there.
Okay, so I support trans people, especially trans adults, having rights to gender affirming care, and I support social care for trans people as well. So respecting people, even if you don't agree with it, respecting people, what they want to be called, okay, at a very base level. And I think when we talk about sports, there should be some type of rules for athletics in the high school and college levels. There should be no rules at all below 14.
Every Democrat
they voted against. Okay, they voted against one bill.
Every Democrat present voted against the bill that Trump executively signed, saying women could not compete in men's sports.
I don't think it should be banned everywhere. Okay, I don't support the big government authoritarian legislation that they wanted to pass because, like I'm saying right now, co-ed sports in general are a thing. Hey! I want you to think for a second. No, stay on one topic, just because they want you fragmented with your brain. Like, just think for 1 second. Okay, so do you understand? Like right now, we have co-ed sports that are U14, so 14 and under, and we have co-ed sports in college, for example, for intramurals.
Sure.
It's like men and women playing together, boys and girls playing together.
Yeah.
So if we ban all sports
co-ed.
at all when it comes to men and women, okay, or boys and girls, that means co-ed sports cannot be a thing anymore. That means many different, like that means like no one cares about 14-year-old.
No,
yes, it does. The actual bill they were going to sign, is very restrictive. The big government, but you did not read the bill. Okay, the bill was very restrictive. It was big government authoritarianism. I don't want the big government making decisions on that. And I don't know why Republicans are okay with the big government when it comes to trans people, but they're not okay with the big government when it comes to limiting banks and corruption. So like when we talk about that issue, I just want to respect people. It's hard for people to talk about in public.
I don't have any ill intention, towards the trans community. I don't. But like Trump right now is saying it's child abuse, or they're saying you should be arrested. You should be arrested if you even talk to kids about like that being gay is a thing, for example. You can't even tell a kid being gay exists without getting arrested. Talk about sex to kids. That should be a parental thing for one. And
so okay, so are you saying there should be no
in school?
Are you saying there should be no high school health classes at all?
There shouldn't, no.
Okay, I disagree. Because that makes more kids get raped. That means more kids are going to be sexually assaulted. That means more kids are going to be pregnant and have STDs because kids are going to start having sex when they're 13 or 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, especially if they have a bad home life. And I want kids everywhere to have access to the proper care and knowledge they need to keep themselves safe. I want kids to know how to keep themselves safe.
I think the Republicans are doing good by getting rid of, like, if you look at states that are
Republican states
primarily Republican.
Republican states have the highest rates of teenage.
Sites.
Okay, Republican states have the highest rates of rape. They have the highest rates of STDs. They have the highest rates of teen pregnancy. They have the highest rates of women dying giving birth. So I wouldn't go up Republican states for this.
Which cities inside these states are the crimes being committed?
I just talked about. Wait, okay, listen.
It's not the Republican city.
Listen, we're talking about should kids have access to information on how to keep themselves safe with a high school health class. And what I just said is red states have higher rates of rape. They have higher rates of predators. They have higher rates of kids getting pregnant. They have higher rates of STDs because they don't give access to general knowledge to kids. They don't help kids that have shitty home lives. And I want kids everywhere to have access to information that can keep themselves safe.
Okay, in regards to our school systems also, like the grading situation, why, if we spend more money per student than any other country in the world, are we constantly having lower test scores?
We don't send that much money to... Okay, so our test scores are terrible in red states. Red states have terrible literacy rates. All the worst states education-wise are red states because they underfund education terribly. The teachers don't have resources. They have huge classroom sizes. They have very low standards for education. Blue states lead in education. They lead in literacy. They lead in every category. The Department of Education helps red states and helps poor areas stay up to par with extra funding that rich areas already have. So like that's the point of the Department of Education. But in general, the idea that one second. But yeah, the red states have an issue with education. Blue states are leading.
I'm fact checking that, but I see that you are right about it. Yes, and it's leaning slightly, so it's not like it's. And even if you count that, you got to consider the cities. You got to look at the cities and what they're voting. Because if you look at Tennessee, for instance, you look at Memphis and you compare that to a rural school like outside of Nashville, you're going to get a whole lot different test scores.
Just in terms of states, though, blue states have the biggest cities by far, and they lead in test scores. And like Washington D.C., by the way, has one of the highest literacy tests or literacy scores for kids. So Washington D.C. has extremely good test scores, and it does skew to blue states.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't really listen to Republican politicians on this topic for that reason.
I didn't have anything wrote down for this. I'm just going all off the top of my head here.
No, you're good. It's just weird because Trump cites like Sweden. He brings up Sweden and Norway and China and all these countries that have big government. They have big government education and they lead the world in education. And Trump says we're going to be more like them, but we're going in the opposite direction of those countries. So what he says there makes zero sense.
I think what he says with like letting the states control that, so that at least give the power to the states briefly, momentarily, and you figure out which states are going to handle it well, and then we
already have those numbers.
Those states,
we already have those numbers. We already have that.
And then also like with the Department of Education, they attacked parents, who were trying to take care of their kids. They didn't want to give gender affirming care to their kids, or they didn't want their kids wearing COVID masks, and they would be kicked out of the school board meetings. The school boards are paid by American citizens, so to do that to American citizens, of course, you're going to create this giant.
The Department of Education doesn't do whatever you just said. They don't do that from the Department of Education. They just help give out grants to poor areas. No, they don't. They don't do that kind of stuff. They don't lead curriculum anywhere. They don't Charlie Kirk will probably lie to you about this, but they don't. They do grants and stuff.
There's plenty of actual evidence of like videos that you can watch where parents are, showing demonstrations like with the mask mandate, that if you go down into a man tunnel, you have to wear this oxygen sensor, and if it gets below a certain level, then you have to leave all your tools, everything, and get out of that tunnel. And you have to stop work. But, he puts on a COVID mask that, is required, and puts the oxygen sensor in this COVID mask. And it immediately, within like a couple minutes, started beeping. So, it's unhealthy to wear a mask all day long. So,
it's not really unhealthy to wear a mask, a regular COVID mask all day long. It's not really bad for you. But either way, the Department of Education does not do any of that. They don't go after parents or do any mask mandates or do any education or curriculum. They just give out grants to poor areas.
They did do that.
No, they don't. They did not do that. I'm sorry. They just don't do that. That's not their job.
Okay.
Like mask mandates were done on a state basis.
I disagree that they definitely did try to postpone opening schools because people in the Department of Education fought and said that they would not allow kids to come back without masks. Which sure, kids are.
But the federal Department of Education did not do that. Like the states make those decisions. They just did not do that.
The states
they don't have jurisdiction to do that. I'm sorry, but they don't do that. They do grants and loans and stuff. They just help poor areas get grants and stuff.
Do they pick the books that go into the libraries?
No, that's also not them. They just help poor areas have more funding.
Who picks the books that go into the library?
Either local areas do or the states do.
Okay.
Okay, I appreciate the call. I'm gonna go to another person, but I do appreciate the call.
Sure.
I think you have a good night. That was okay. Okay. I'm restarting my short stream. I don't like the algorithm so far. Trash. I'm restarting my short stream. You can come back. Come back to it then. I'm restarting it if you're hearing this. I'm restarting the short stream, guys. Restarting it.